Okay, hello and welcome back again. We talked about the first distinction in the class of propositions. This was the distinction between a priori versus a posteriori propositions. Now we will talk about the second distinction. And this distinction is concerned with synthetic versus analytic propositions. Okay. And this is also a very simple concept. We call proposition P analytic, or we can also say analytically true false if and only if we can know P to be true simply by the meaning, or we could also talk about definitions, but as I expounded upon in the previous videos, I don't like this term. I think we should avoid the term definition, to simply by the meaning of the terms concepts that are contained in P. Okay, this is a little bit of a vague statement. What do we mean by contained? And what is this term's concept? What do we mean by these words? So we can make it a little bit clearer. We explicated the concept of what a proposition is. There we had to refer to sentences as that express propositions. And in these sentences, certain terms are occurring. In our case, let's say, for example, all bachelors are unmarried men. A very interesting, uninteresting, I mean boring standard example, but bear with me. The terms simply are, we have bachelors, we have unmarried, we have men, and then we have a certain logical structure. We have an all quantification, and for all quantification right here, but I'll ignore this for now. I'll ignore the logical structure of these sentences. And what we are claiming when we say that this proposition is analytic, we are claiming that this is true. This, all bachelors are unmarried men. This is a statement which is true by meaning of the terms alone, by the definition of these terms alone. And I already showed you in the last video that this is obviously true for this statement, and because of this we can call the propositions, or the proposition all bachelors are unmarried men analytically, because if we substitute the meaning of bachelor, we get all unmarried men are unmarried, and this is a tautology and apodictically true, therefore. Okay. As I already stated in the last video, this is a silly little example. The conceptual a priori is also the realm of conceptual complexity. As any good conceptual analysis shows, it's a very often non-trivial undertaking to actually do these substitutions and to actually define these terms in a way that the whole net of related concept gets elucidated. But yeah, this is clearly an analytic statement because it's true by meaning of the involved terms alone. Okay. Then we can define what a synthetic proposition is by simply negating what an analytic proposition is. This is the same method we did before, and then we can already end this video. We call it a proposition P synthetic if and only if it is not analytic. And by that we mean we cannot know P to be true simply by the meaning or definition of the involved terms alone. Okay, this is simply negating what the analytic proposition is. And I can give you a very clear example. I can give you many examples because this is a very big class of propositions. Yeah. So for example, if I say my dog Snoopy weighs 10 kilogram, yeah, this is an empirical statement. And there you see the concept of an empirical statement re-emerges. And in the concept of dog, of weight, of kilogram, of whatever concept may be involved in this sentence, right? However, the proposition is conceptually structured, yeah? This is an empirical fact. You have to look at the world. You have to weigh this my dog Snoopy to actually figure out whether it's true or not. Okay? So there's already this intuition which drives a very empiristic intuition. Empiristic intuition, just like Hume had, for example. Hume had this intuition. It's a very good one. It's very close to our like epistemological zeitgeist. This is the identification, the extensive identification of the synthetic with the a posteriori. Okay, and this is a little bit of an introduction to the next part of the video where we will actually start talking about synthetic a priori knowledge and propositions. There is like this intuition that every sentence which somehow has information about the empirical world, and is thereby a posteriori, yeah, is also synthetic. A proposition. Therefore, if you think about it in a set theoretic way, if we would define the set of all synthetic propositions and the set of a posteriori propositions, they are coextensive, meaning they are picking out the same propositions. Yeah, we will talk about this in the upcoming videos in detail. So if you don't understood it, if you didn't understand it right now, don't worry. But yeah, maybe let's do a quick recap and then we're done for today. One moment, please. We start our knowledge, our analysis with knowledge. We arrived at belief, proposition. Let me cancel belief here because we don't have to talk about belief that not in that much detail. Then we had several distinctions in the class of propositions. The a priori, this is the a priori versus the a posteriori, and the analytic versus the synthetic proposition. And the main question of this video series, and by the way, Kant's critique of pure reason, is to answer the question are there synthetic a priori propositions that can be known by us? Okay, And since we have already explicated all these notions, we can translate this are there propositions which are not knowable, let's say, meaning you can't justify them, which are not knowable by the meaning, by conceptual, I call this conceptual analysis because this is conceptual analysis, which are not knowable by conceptual analysis. It as the definition, the meaning, it as investigation into the definition, the meaning of the involved terms. Okay, let's start again because I know it's a little bit involved. Are there propositions which are not, that's important, not knowable by conceptual analysis? Meaning, are there propositions that are true? Are there propositions that are true, but they are not true simply due to the definition and the meaning of the involved terms? So they are synthetic, they are not analytic. This is not analytic. And also a priori. Meaning, again, we can substitute our understanding in this definition for what we mean by a priori. They can be justified without, or let's say their truth can be known without referring to facts of the matter, to the empirical world, we could say. This is a little bit yeah, okay. So let me repeat the question of this video series. The question Kant posed in the Critique of Pure Reason, and in the end the question of whether metaphysics is even possible, right, is to answer the question, are there synthetic a priori propositions that can be known by us? Are there? Yeah? There are many synthetic a priori propositions, especially like in the Middle Ages, for example, but also in Greece, Aristotle, Plato, people like that. They uttered many synthetic a priori propositions. Of course, they didn't see it in that way. They didn't think, oh, now I will utter a synthetic a priori proposition. They didn't even distinguish correctly between these different classes of propositions. But in the end, metaphysics in the Middle Ages, or metaphysics in general up to Kant, metaphysicians were very sure that they could improve on our body of knowledge, add something to our body of knowledge about the empirical world, okay, without actually referring to it. So they thought of metaphysics as a priori, quote-unquote, science, because these people didn't have the concept of modern science, obviously, but think about it that way, it's a useful heuristic. They thought of metaphysics as a priori science, as a way of investigating the world, and thereby adding to our knowledge about the world, without, in their justifications that are contained in that investigation, referring to the empirical world. Yeah? For example, they would say every event has a cause. They would say this is a a priori synthetic proposition we can know. We can know without referring to experience at all, simply a priori, that every event has a cause. And this is also some non-trivial knowledge, okay? Because in the end, analytical, we could call analytical knowledge trivial knowledge in a way, because it's not adding to our body of knowledge. To know that all Benjamins are unmarried, this is not an informative statement if you know what the concept means. This is simply putting things together. Yeah? As I already stated, saying that analytical propositions are trivial in that way is also very misleading, because conceptual analysis can be a very involved task, as you might have already learned. But what we want to ask is, are there statements, are there propositions, yeah, which are true, not analytically, meaning we can make the all conceptual analysis we want. The truth of this proposition is not guaranteed by the meaning or the definition of the terms involved. We can say that for sure. Yeah. For example, that every event has a cause. Yeah. We wouldn't say, or at least the people in the Middle Ages didn't say that the concept of cause is somehow like contained in the concept of an event. They would say this is a statement which is not true simply by meaning of the words alone, right? But they also thought this statement, this proposition is actually adding, is actually informative, is actually growing our body of knowledge about the world. Of course, you might have many different questions, because we can't understand. First of all, the people in the Middle Ages didn't think about it that way, because they didn't think about like concept being contained in other concepts. They had a very like naive way of thinking about meaning and the language in general. Even Kant has little to nothing to say about language, which is a big disappointment, right? But yeah, maybe let's go back to it. Let's understand it a little bit more clearly, because I'm already getting ahead of myself again. So, what I wanted to say is, we made several distinctions, and I introduced the main question of the video series, and this is the question of whether there are synthetic a priori propositions that can be known by us. Okay, maybe a little detail with this question. Of course, we are interested in true synthetic a priori propositions that can be known by us, and this is guaranteed by the meaning of the term known. We did the conceptual analysis previously, so but this is a little potential misunderstanding that I want to avoid, and this translates into other propositions which are not knowable by conceptual analysis. It is the investigation to the definition, the meaning of the involved terms, so meaning other propositions that are not analytic, but also a priori, and I forgot this, and true, and knowable by us. This is a little bit, I mean, this is, yeah, can be known a priori. This is what I had to add these few remarks, but yeah. Anyways, this last part of the video might not have been that informative, but I hope you stick with me, and we will delve into this question in much more details in the following videos. So have a great day, and see you then. Bye bye.